This is part 2 of a video I did about dreadlocks not being black culture, not being African culture. Now, the reason I have to do a part 2 is because when I made the first video, I didn't have input from the people, so I wasn't able to know which direction to take the knowledge. But now that I've gotten a lot of input from the people, I'm able to be more direct in explaining the situation. Now, this conversation comes from an old video of a black college student confronting a white college student about his dreadlocks. She was saying that it was, black culture from Egypt, Now, to me, her whole stance was bullshit. And the reason is because she didn't have any dreadlocks. So right then, her whole conversation is lame. How can you be standing for something that you claim is black culture, but you don't have no dreads, but you're speaking on something that you're not participating in and you don't have firsthand information on it? And that's what happened when I made the first video, is that I seen so many people, especially black people, speaking on it, that don't even have dreadlocks. Now, a lot of people were getting confused because I was saying original man. And I was saying original man had natural hair. And where the problem came in is they wanted to take original man A. Okay, they wanted to take this original man. Original man is black. A man and woman is black, right? But today, what do we have? We have Asians. We have Hispanics. Okay? We have whites. Now, if original man was black, at some point, there had to be the first Asian or Chinese man that looks like the Chinese man today, because people are going to say that the Chinese derive from black people. Okay, I'll give you that. But at some point, there is the first Chinese man that looks like the Chinese man today. So let's draw him right here. At some point, there's the first Hispanic man that looks like the Hispanic men of today, right? At some point, there's the first European man, the first white man. If whites came from blacks, or wherever you say, there had to be the first one that looks like the one today, right? Let's draw that there. It has to be the first man in India that's in India right now, that has the straight hair and the features of the people in India today. Even if they derive from Ethiopians or blacks, there still have to be the first one that looks like the one today. Okay? So people say original man, they say this one, but I consider the beginning of these people before they became developed, before they had technology, before they had razors and scissors and combs, when they lived outside naturally. I consider all of them original man. I consider all of them original man. I consider original man the man before technology, the man before he had a comb, before he had a brush, before he had a mirror, before he made a statue, before he built buildings, the wanderer. To me, though, that is original man, meaning that is man before we became a developed man. Now, you have a lot of people, they don't have any dreadlocks, never even grew dreadlocks, or speaking on this. And I'm going to be honest, when I was a young brother studying Kemet, and I seen the people in Kemet with dreadlocks, and I started growing my dreadlocks, I started checking for Rastafari. I was a young Rasta man. If you would have asked me, was dreadlocks black culture, I would have said yes. But after time of having my dreadlocks, and I start to understand the liberty of Rastafari, that's when I became more aware that dreadlocks are not a culture. It's a way of life. Everybody's hair dreads up. Now, some blacks want to hold on to the idea that this is black culture, so their argument was whites don't dreadlock, it's matted, or something ridiculous. And the reason they say whites' hair matted is because in the current black community, they have these manicured dreadlocks. They don't wear natural growing dreadlocks, which look matted. Many of the Nyabingi, Bongo, Congo Rasta got one big chunk. They're not all twisted and braided like your favorite rapper. That is not natural dreadlocks. The dreadlocks you see in Kemet, where you see them braided and you see them orchestrated, that's not the original dreadlocks. Not at all. The original dreadlocks are just natural growing hair. Okay? And hair is not a culture. Fingernails are not a culture. Toenails are not a culture. I found out the problem with the conversation is people don't know what a culture is. Now, I might have misled a couple people because I just be talking off, the cuff, just relaxing, just talking to you as a person. And I was making statements like dreadlocks was the culture of original man, and that was the wrong thing to say. Dreadlocks was the lifestyle of the original man, not a culture. But I didn't know where the hang up would be, so I didn't know which word to pick out to define. But the problem with the conversation is the word culture. What is a culture? A culture is never one thing. Never. In other words, if he's got dreadlocks and he's dyeing them red and he's wearing certain beads and carrying certain items, he is a Maasai warrior. It takes all of those things for it to be a culture. Dreadlocks alone is not a culture. Not only is dreadlocks not black culture, dreadlocks are not a culture at all. It is a natural way your hair grows. And so for people that don't grow their hair naturally, for those people, how the hell do they know what a lifestyle is, what is natural? We live in a world where nobody's natural. So we got a bunch of people that are not natural trying to speak on nature. Naturally, everybody on this planet, their hair would start to weave together. Now people say, what's proof of that? The proof is in the store. Why do they sell you hair care products? Why do they sell you combs and brushes and razors and shit? So you can fight nature. The combing of the hair, the cutting of the hair is a war against nature. It's not a war against culture. Now let's take Rasta. Somebody would be like, Rasta got dreadlocks, so that's black culture. No, Rasta dreadlocks is not culture. Rasta is a liberty. Plus, just having dreadlocks don't make you a Rasta. That's where y'all got the whole idea of culture messed up. To be a Rasta, there's Haile Selassie is God Almighty. Herb is for the healing of the nations. Repatriation to Africa is a must. Throw away your scissors and your comb. There's a lot of different things. Red, gold, and green, the official colors. Ethiopia is the motherland. Without all of that, that's not Rasta. It's not just Rasta because you got dreadlocks. Dreadlocks is not a culture, and it's not just something for black people. People say, because you go and you see a picture in Kemet of some black people with dreadlocks, Does that mean those was the only people on the whole planet that had dreadlocks? No, that means that those are the only people that have documentation of having dreadlocks. That means that that's some of the oldest information that you found. But that does not mean that everybody all over this planet didn't have no dreadlocks. Okay? And how is some man, before they are traveling in ships and shit, and he's way in India, how is he going to know that's your culture when he's growing his dreadlocks in India and he's growing his dreadlocks in China? You can watch the first video and I show pictures of ancient people who had dreadlocks. They didn't even know of the existence of the other one. The idea that somebody's seen your dreadlocks and then start growing them is ridiculous. The scissors, the comb, and all that is new. And so is Kemet. Kemet, Egypt is new. Y'all need to cut it out like Egypt represents the beginning of time. It does not. Egypt is new. Man was here millions of years before he started messing with bricks and stones and building shit. Original man lived in caves, okay? Lived in shelters they made from trees and leaves and bamboo and stuff like that. It was a long time before man became a masonry, got into masonry and got into building and architecture. Come on, cut it out. So a culture, you can't just look at hair and say that's black culture. No. There is no such thing as black culture. Because if dreadlocks was black culture, why all you black people ain't got no damn dreadlocks? And then people want to say, well, it's African culture. There's no such thing as African culture. Ask a Nigerian, ask an Ethiopian, ask anyone from any of the tribes in Africa, is there any such thing as African culture? According to a lot of the Moors that got knowledge, the whole term African is a term to eliminate your nationality. And I agree. We come from all over Africa, but we don't have no identity, so you just call us just Africans. But yet Europeans, they're still Polish, German, Italian, French. But me, I'm just African. I'm just an African American. That's an elimination of my nationality. So there's no such thing as no African culture. There's nothing that one person did throughout all Africa. There's not even a Kemetic culture because everybody in Kemet didn't do the same thing from dynasty to dynasty. I can show you people with all different types of look in Kemet. From braids to dreads to razors. I mean, they had solid gold razor blades. This was all developed. This doesn't represent the beginning of time. Kemet does not represent original man. Original man is not represented. It's not represented. There's no pictures of original man. There's no statues of the original man. Now, if a lot of you went and actually grown your dreadlocks and got involved with natural activities, vegan activities, worldly activities, you'd have more interaction with people with dreadlocks from other cultures like me. I started growing my dreadlocks in 1979. So I've been around Chinese Rasta, Chinese with dreads. I've been around whites with dreads. I've been around all different type of people that had dreads of various religions. Some of no religion at all. They just wanted to be back to nature. Like a lot of people grow dreads to be back to nature. They don't even grow them from no point of view of no type of civilization. They grow them to connect back with what I was saying on this, to connect back with original man, to get back to the trees and get back to the nature. You people are removed from nature. So you don't even know what I'm talking about. Until you grow your dreadlocks on your head for a period of time, grow your dreadlocks 10 or 15 years and then make a comment. Then you'll become aware of being natural, and you'll realize being natural is not a culture. If you have a lot of tribes and groups, you can't say, and one of them grow long fingernails. You can't say everybody that grows long fingernails, that's them people's culture, unless those people paint their fingernails. Everybody in this tribe or group or in this civilization paint their fingernails green with a certain mark on it. That's when it becomes a culture. Everybody grow dreadlocks and they wrap them a certain kind of way and they tie them with a certain color, string, or they put a certain plant on this side. That's when it becomes a culture. Okay? Like red clothes. You have people wear red clothes. You have people wear blue clothes. Are they Crips and Bloods? You're not a Crip just because you got on blue. You have to have on blue, and you have to know the laws and the ideology of what a Crip is. Just because you got on red, that does not make you a Blood. Red is not a culture because somebody that's got a culture, a gang culture, just because they're wearing red doesn't mean everybody that's wearing red is emulating them, because it's not just the red that makes them Blood. It's their ideologies and principles and ideas and their neighborhood that makes them Bloods, not just the red. So not just the dreadlocks. Dreadlocks is by itself is just natural hair. And I don't need to see a whole bunch of unnatural people, some Babylons that's cutting their hair, that's fighting their natural self, try to talk to me about what it is. And I don't want to see no baby dreadlock dudes that had their dreadlocks 2 or 3 years. Now you're an expert. I had my dreadlocks since 1979. I know what I'm talking about. Dreadlocks is natural. It's natural for your hair to grow like that. And if you was living outside in nature, you would let it mat up. It would help keep you warm. How the hell is that a culture? If that's the case, a coat is a culture. If that's the case, a hat is a culture. Unless it's a specific hat made to represent a specific culture, then it's not a culture, it's just a hat. And I do understand that black people have been robbed of their original way of living, so there's a overhype to try to grasp onto something, and so you're claiming a lot of stuff because of your situation through slavery. But you're just claiming some of the stuff you're claiming it because you're not living in a natural life. It gets to the point where people are going to have to go back to nature. They're not going to be able to go back to all these little small various situations and civilizations. Eventually, people are going to have to realize we're living on a planet, and this planet is going to self-destruct if we don't go back to a natural way of living. And what good is it going to do for you to go to Africa and live natural if somebody going to still be in another country living unnatural and polluting the air? So this is something everybody got to get through their head. We have to go back to nature. See? But a lot of you people are fake and you're fraudulent. You're trying to pretend you got some knowledge from the beginning of time, but you're a bald head. It's just like you some religious guy and you want to tell me about your God, but then you cutting your hair. My question to you is, if your God was developed after man start cutting and combing and twisting his hair, then your God is a baby. Because if God been here from creation, God was here when people just had natural hair. God was here before a razor or a comb. So if Allah is God, then Allah had to be here before you start cutting your hair off your head. Now, if Allah came when you became a bald head, then Allah is a baby. If Jesus came when you were a bald head, then Jesus is a baby. And Christians are the phoniest ever because it clearly says that Christ had hair of wool. But then you go and see these Christians, they straight from the barbershop, claiming to be connected with Christ and not connected with Christ at all. Okay, you'll see pictures of a slim, skinny European Christ and then go to church and see a whole bunch of fat-ass people with bald heads. No, they don't even grow their hair. How many men in the church got long hair like Christ? None. This is how phony people are. So you got a bunch of people don't know nothing about dreadlocks, especially the black ones. They don't even got no dreadlocks. That's the most disgusting thing ever. You ain't got no dread. If you don't have no dreadlocks on your head, don't speak on dreadlocks. Don't speak on nothing that you ain't about, okay? Because you're too much of a coward to even grow your dreadlocks. So don't even talk to me about dreadlocks. You're a coward. You won't stand up for your own. Don't try to stand up to me for my position, but you want to go stand up at your boss and say you should be able to keep your job with your natural hair. You cutting your hair so you can go to work. You cutting your hair because your mama and your daddy and them ain't going to like you if you start growing your natural hair. You got perms. You got all kind of fucked up shit. So I had to go make this video because I got tired of people on there typing ridiculous stuff on the last video. Now I can just refer them to this video so they can learn what the hell a culture even is. You know, how you going to argue with me about something you don't know what the hell it is? Okay? And I might have misled certain people too because I was saying this, if anything, it was the culture of original man, and I didn't explain that. And what I meant by that is that this original man that I show right here, I give original man a longer period of time than most people. Most people give original man only from there to there, but I give a whole long time that man lived an original type of life. So a lot of these people that I call original man, they probably start twisting their hair. They probably start looking in the rivers and noticing they could see their reflection. They probably start finding items that look like mirrors where they could see themselves. So some of this original man, I think they start developing certain cultures that they were doing. So that's why I say the culture of original man, because they might have put a rose on one side of their hair to show the difference between the people on this side of the river and the people live on that side of the river. Okay. But when you go all the way back to the beginning of people on this planet that just gathered fruits and berries, these people, it was a lifestyle. Okay. It was a way of life. It takes a long time before something becomes a culture. It's a long time man was here before he had to start marking himself to identify himself different from other people. The first people that's walking around this planet, they wasn't trying to identify themselves different. They was just living. Something that you people need to get back to, just living. But man ain't got away from just living, okay? And then it created this thing called make a living. So now you're in a Babylon system where you're trying to make a living, where Babylon, not only do you not have natural hair, but Babylon then went and gathered up all the fruits and vegetables and took the seeds out the wild growing apples and everything and took them and grown behind his fence. And have you got to go to Whole Foods and Jewels and Boys and all these different stores to buy something that used to grow natural. So not only are you not growing your natural hair, you don't even live on a natural planet where you used to have the right to go and just set up an area and just build your place and live there, where you picked fruits and berries and live naturally. Your whole world is artificial. So I got tired of deleting all the people that were saying something contrary to what I'm saying, and I'm not going to argue on my YouTube, so I just make a whole nother video so some of these people can go and learn what a culture even is. There's no one thing that makes you a culture. Show me a culture on this world. Make a comment down here. Show me a culture that just one thing makes them a culture. There's no such thing. In Hawaii, the Polynesians, they got a lot of things they do to make them Hawaiians. Hawaiian culture is a lot of things. The Igbo in Africa. There's a lot of things make you an Igbo. There's a lot of things that make you a Maasai. There's a lot of things that make you a Falasha Jew in Ethiopia. There's no one thing. Dreadlocks is culture. No, dreadlocks, everybody in the world will have natural hair. And if you would grow your natural hair, you would know that. Okay? We're living in a world where what's the percentage of people that grow natural dreadlocks? So how are you qualified to even talk to me when we live on the world of like 98% of Babylonians? 98% of you people on this planet are artificial GMO people. You're fake. You're not natural. You don't eat natural food. You don't grow your natural hair. You don't even wear natural deodorant and use natural toothpaste. Everything you use is artificial, and you're artificial. So how are you qualified to even speak on natural growing hair? And if you think I'm lying, anybody that disagree with me about this being natural growing hair, take a picture of your refrigerator. Open up your medicine cabinet, your refrigerator, and take a picture. And then make a comment and show me the link where I can go back and look in your refrigerator and look in your cabinets. I bet it's all artificial shit in there. You ain't even qualified to talk to me, to be honest with you. You're not natural. So how can you relate with natural growing hair when you unnatural? Your whole body is toxic. You're full of all type of poisons. It's totally ridiculous to think that a white person can't let their hair grow natural, that an Asian can't let their hair grow natural. That some kind of way in your mind you want to try to say that black people own natural locking hair? Are you kidding me? Black people don't own that. Your hair do that on its own. And anybody disagree with me, you're a damn lie, especially if you ain't got no dreads, because you're going to get up every morning and fight your dreads. So you're not qualified. Every day you fighting your dreads, you trying to tell me it's not natural, but every day you getting up fighting nature? How the hell you going to tell me something? Every day, if you ain't got no dreadlocks, you getting up fighting nature. I don't care if you white or whatever, you combing that shit and you listening and turn on the TV. What the TV tell you? Revlon selling you all these hair care products so your hair can be straight, so you can look like a Babylon, telling you go get super cuts. Every day the Babylon system is telling you to fight against nature. It's not telling you to fight against culture. The war on this planet is not against culture. Okay? The cheetah's almost extinct, not because of culture, because of the war on nature. The giraffe is almost extinct, not because of war on culture, but because of a war on nature. Black women got fucking weaves in their hair, got spots and holes all in their hair from glue and weave. Not because of fight against culture, but because of fight against nature. People is putting fake titties, fake asses. Not because of fight against culture. It's because of a fight against nature. All these buildings going up everywhere. You cutting down all the trees, cutting down all the plants, buying up all the beaches, putting big ass condominiums in apartment buildings. Not because of fight against culture. It's a fight against nature. All of this shit you see on this planet is a war on nature.